Thank you for all coming here today. You know, these events are meant to be a little bit of fun, and you know, it's good to get out of our day-to-day office, our day-to-day jobs, and actually, you know, see the people that we walk past every day, have a chat, you know, find out what they do, how their day is going, I suppose. So I think I want to start by thanking the team, Talia, Nicole, and everybody else for giving us the opportunity to actually do that, have a bit of a, a bit of a feed, a bit of morning tea, a bit of a chat to each other. Yeah, just sort of enjoy our morning. The topic that I want to talk to you guys about today is actually something that relates to all of us, and it shapes our life in one way or the other, and the topic is storytelling. So have you guys ever seen, heard, or watched something and just gone, oh my God, this is so interesting, I want to know more about it? Well, that's successful storytelling. So I'm going to teach you a little bit about how to do this today. But before I start, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been pretty good at storytelling for most of my life. I do have a double degree in journalism, majoring in languages. So basically that just means that, I can tell you a story in 4 languages rather than 1. I have traveled the world quite a bit. I've been to 30 countries. I did get carried away at some point. I decided to live in 4 of them as well, so that's where the 4 languages come from. So I do have quite a global perspective on how people tell stories and how people communicate, not just in Australia, but globally. And I've worked with some pretty big brands with my travels. I've done work in publishing, and I've done work in video content production and content production with some pretty big companies. I think we've put a couple of them on here. I've done work with Foxtel in Australia. I've done work with Bauer Media Group. Bauer Media Group is probably more known in Europe, but they're basically the guys that globally own the majority of entertainment magazines. So they're the guys that own, your Cosmopolitan, your Gourmet Traveller, Women's Weekly, all of those mags. And they don't just own them in one country, they own them in 50 plus countries. So they're pretty big. Then, I've worked with the guys at L'Officiel. L'Officiel is basically the French counterpart to the Bauer Media Group in Germany. So they try and do a similar thing, but in France. And they have things like L'Officiel Voyage, L'Officiel Mode, which is like the fashion magazines and that sort of stuff. So, I've got a bit of experience in presenting pretty big brands and speaking to pretty big audiences about how to tell their stories and their, I guess, business brand stories. Now, one of the things I worked out working in journalism, do you have any journalists here or sort of, no? Well, one thing I can tell you, working in journalism, unless you're Rupert Murdoch, you don't make much money. So I sort of, at some point, decided that it would be nice that, if my storytelling skills would actually help me pay the bills along the way. So a few years back, I've actually decided to start my own agency. And we've been doing quite well, actually. We've doubled every single year that we've been in operation. So I think, we've got a few business people here. I think a lot of you would agree with me. That's pretty good. You double every year. So now we work with quite a few national brands in Australia. So, we've got Bob Jane. You guys will all know who they are. We do quite a few things in the travel industry. So we've got Austrac Campers, we've got Caravan HQ, we've got a whole range of other brands that didn't fit onto the screen, but I sort of thought I'd select the ones that people might be able to recognize. We do a little bit in the wine industry as well. So we've got Rob Dolan Wines, we've got Ultravision Lighting, we've got Finance Differently, who are a finance institution. So we've done pretty well for where we're at. So anyway, storytelling. Storytelling is actually a concept that's pretty much as old as the human race, right? Scientists actually say that this is an intrinsic human characteristic. And basically that means that storytelling is present in everything we do every day. Now, why is this important? Well, all of us are currently in the working population in this country. So this basically means that we're the most important people in society right now. No, it's true, you know. We shape the way that our country performs, shape our economy, we make decisions, you know. We are the current decision makers in our society. So, you know, a few of us are business owners, directors. Now, just out of curiosity, how many of you are actually, you know, like owning the business that they're working? Yeah, so we've got a few. And how many are involved in some sort of decision making in their roles? I mean, to be honest, it should be everybody, right? You know, you decide which clients to call, you decide, I don't know, like what color stationery to buy. It's important, you know, like there's a lot of research around the topic of like, you know, how colors and things we surround ourselves with, that affects our everyday performance, so it's important, don't laugh. But anyway, so the reason why I want to talk to you about this today is because we're all decision makers. And decision making is actually directly related to storytelling. Now, when we as humans make decisions, we generally base our decisions on a few things. So, you know, who's going to say that they base their decisions on facts? Yep. A lot of honest people, like normally, like everybody just goes, yep, I base my decision on facts. But yeah, the truth is, so there's facts, you know. Who would say they base their decisions based on emotions? A couple of you, yeah. I sometimes make my decisions based on emotions. Desires, what we want to achieve, you know. If we want something, we try and go get it. Accountants here? No? No one based decisions on numbers? Look, there's always a few factors that we base our decisions on, but I guess the important part is that it doesn't matter what we use to make the decision. We justify all of our decisions by the story that we tell ourselves about it, the story that we tell our parents, our kids, our partners, and depending on how well we tell that story, depending on how well we present our arguments, we can either get people to agree with us or not. So basically, the way that we tell our story really determines our success, our personal success, and our business success as well. So, you know, we're all business people here today. So I'm going to try and talk to you guys a little bit about how to, you know, how to tell stories, but in a business sense, in a sense where, you know, we can grow our companies, we can grow our presence, and, you know, I guess, you know, we can all agree we're sort of in the same boat right now. The last couple of years have been a bit interesting, you know. Interest rates are going up, inflation's high, there's a housing crisis. You know, there's a guy on Instagram telling people addresses for empty properties so that they can go and squatter there. Have you seen that? Oh, does he? There you go. There you go. It's a real thing. Like, but people are struggling, right? It's been an interesting couple of years. And you know, we've just passed the end of financial year. Who reckons they smashed it last year? Like, best year so far, best business growth, best personal growth? Anyone? Yeah, you know, it's hard. It's been a bit tough. But I suppose, you know, what if I told you that you could actually do better this year financially, do better with your clients, do better with your engagement, you know, get more money into the business just by telling your story right? That'd be pretty cool, right? I guess we know that storytelling influences decision making. So you guys here all provide some sort of service to your clients, right? Who reckons they do a pretty good job at what they do? Everybody. Should be everybody, come on. Should be everybody. So the thing is, if we can convince people to use our services, they're really benefiting from using our services. So it's a win-win, right? So if we can get our engagement up with the customers, we can talk to more people, we can tell our story, we can influence their decision-making in a way that they want to engage with us, we get more customers in, everybody wins. So just so that, you know, it's not just all me talking, there's actually people studying that stuff, and, you know, they do research into this sort of stuff, and they come up with stats. So, you know, we got some stats for you just so that, you know, you guys don't think that I just pulled it out of nowhere and just, you know, talking to you about it. So apparently, if people love your brand story, 55% are more likely to buy your product in the future, which is cool. It's cool, but, you know, it's in the future. When in the future? 44% will share your story if they like it. And that's where I go, well, this is actually really, really cool. Because that means they'll either share it on socials, which we want them to do, or they might tell it to their friend, family, but they'll actually talk about our story, which is how we get exposure. And 15% will buy your product immediately. So just to give you an idea, imagine 100 people watch a video, you get 15 sales out of it straight away. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. There's another stat that says, you know, B2B sales, you get increased conversions by 30%, and, you know, 62% of marketers said that storytelling is an effective content marketing strategy. To be honest, I reckon it should be 100% of marketers, because content marketing is something that everybody needs. But I'll talk to you about it later. Now, in terms of storytelling now, how do we tell our story so that we can talk to more customers? Because there is a formula. There's a formula to everything. Now, at school, I'm presuming most people would have learnt, you know, the famous who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? And it's still true. It's still true. The fundamentals don't change. But the problem with just doing the who, what, when, where, and why is the fact that today we get exposed to so much information. We get so much stuff thrown at us. We're bombarded with messages. We actually need to cut through the noise. We need to cut through everything that gets thrown at us. And so that's why we've actually come up with a principle that we call the CHOP principle. So it's sort of, you know, it chops through all the stuff. So C stands for care, H stands for hook, O stands for origin, and P stands for personality. So I guarantee you, if you do 4 of those things in the way you tell your story, you will get people noticing you. So let's talk a little bit about care. So, you know, why do people care? People generally care about stuff that affects them. So what you've got to do is you've got to figure out a way of telling your story, or actually figuring out a way of why your story would impact someone's life. So, you know, there's a few different things of why people care. So, you know, it could be something emotional or relatable. There's stuff, you know, like there's stuff about common values, for example, right? If you have similar values to the company that's selling you the product or service, you will want to engage with them. Personal benefit. Personal benefit is a big one, you know. If I tell you you're going to make double the money next year just by listening to me, you're pretty much going to listen to me. Avoiding pain. Avoiding pain is another one why people care. Like we ran a campaign recently that was pretty successful, and it was to do with people actually suffering from like trying to find staff, and we called it Stop Looking for a Unicorn. And we marketed our services that way, where, you know, people couldn't find videographers, photographers, social media managers, and we said, well, look, you know, stop looking for that one person that can do it all. We'll do it for you, and we'll charge you the same amount as you'd pay for one person. you know. But yeah, people will do things to avoid pain. People will actually engage with stuff if it's aesthetically pleasing. Like, you know, those videos that you get online with, you know, renovations or beautiful buildings. People like a lot of that stuff just because it looks nice, it's aesthetically pleasing, it's calming to them. And, you know, or people engage with stuff if it's to do with an issue that they're passionate about. So, I don't know, like conservation, recycling, you know. I actually get bombarded with a lot of furniture restoration videos because I think one day I liked something. And look, I do like watching, you know, old things come to life and getting a new chance at life again. So, I click on that stuff. But, you know, it's an issue I'm passionate about. You know, I bought a product on Meerkat the other day, and it came in a recyclable packaging. And I opened it, I went, you know, wow, that's cool, you know, like a lot of brands are going towards recyclable packaging these days, and I thought that was really clever. I'll order something again because, you know, they care about the environment, they're trying to do their bit. So, yeah, I guess, you know, the point of this is you have to figure out what it is about your product and your message that will make people care about it. It doesn't have to be all of those things. It could be other things as well. Like these are probably like the most common ones, but there's other reasons of why people care. But this is literally the top thing that you have to think about when you're trying to grab someone's attention. So step into their shoes and, you know, think about why they would care. So, you know, there's a little bit of nice little stat for you as well. So 71% of consumers say they purchase more often from businesses that share their values, which is true, which is what I did with Meerkat. Now, hook. Hook is a very journalistic term, I suppose. We use it all the time in news, and the hook is basically the most interesting part of the story. So, you know, the stuff that you want people to click on. You see a headline and it makes you go, oh, that's interesting. What is that? So the hook is basically, you know, you've got your story, you're like, okay, this person should care because of this and this and this and this. But you go through the story and you go, what is the most interesting, the most catchy part about it? And that's your hook. So you've got to make sure that you've got a hook. Now, origin. Origin for me is probably one of the most important ones, and I'll tell you why. There's a lot of stuff that's happening with AI these days, and a lot of people are using AI, and it's cool, you know. You can get some cool imagery, but because we're getting exposed to a lot of AI, people are actually starting to value authenticity a lot more. And one thing that you can't fake is your origin story. You can't fake that, you know, the day that you decided to start your business. You can't fake, you know, the day that you made your first sale, your first client. So, you know, this is why all the big brands, you know, think about Apple or think about Facebook, you know, they always talk about Mark Zuckerberg started his business from a dorm room. It's because origin story is important and it's authentic and it's something that makes you relatable as well. So, you know, Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook from a dorm room. It makes us think that it could be us. We could do it. It's not, you know, something that is out of reach. So it makes you a lot more relatable. And the last thing is personality. So like with anything, people will always get attracted to people. Will get attracted to brands, and brands need personality to have that human element. So, you know, it's really about how you talk to your customers. It could be the tone of voice. It could be the, you know, you're a happy, bright-coloured, you know, out there personality, or you could be more serious, corporate. It depends on what you do, but you have to have personality that's different from everybody else because that's how you get remembered. So that's our CHOP principle. Now I'm going to show a video to you. Now this is a video we shot it a couple of weeks ago with a client that we've been working with, and I've sort of been teaching her a little bit about the CHOP principle. Now, it hasn't actually gone live yet. We actually haven't finished filming for that video yet either. So I just want you guys to watch it and just to listen to how she tells the story, because this is exactly, about what I'm talking about. So we haven't really done any B-roll or anything visually interesting with this video yet, but I absolutely love her branding and how she's sort of talking about her business, because we've been talking a lot about, the CHOP principle, the care, the hook, the personality, and the origin. So I'm going to throw to Kat, and hopefully you guys enjoy her story.
Hey guys, Kat Marsalek here, the founder and owner of Finance Differently. I want to talk about the story as to why Finance Differently started. I'm going to take you back to 2023, just that year. So I was subcontracting to someone else's brand, getting back into lending, and I was just curious what's happening in the world at this time. And if you recall, it was people were struggling. We had seen interest rates faster than ever before, boom, go from here to here. People were struggling. By the time they were starting to get used to one interest rate, it was another interest rate rise and another and another. And at the same time, inflation was going through the roof, and cost of living prices, electricity and groceries and petrol and everything was going up. Now people were needing to get second jobs. They were skipping meals, and this was just your everyday neighbor. I remember I was going through a Facebook group in my suburb, and people were men and women, and they were saying, I need odd jobs, $50 here, there, I'll do anything. I'll come over, I'll do your ironing, I'll do your lawn mowing, whatever it is. I just need to feed my kids this week. Oh, just thinking about that gives me shivers, hey. And so I decided in 2023 that I was gonna help people in that situation, no matter where they were, whether it was from our homeless community through to the Prime Minister of Australia. I wanted to help everyone not feel that way. And so what I did was I was like, okay, I need to help people save money. So in 2023, I did that through refinancing and consolidating debt and talking about features that people weren't using that saved them, some of them even $40,000 in their first year. And what I found is I helped roughly about maybe 70 to 80 people in 2023, and on average I saved everyone $10,000 or more. Now to me, I was quite proud of that. I was like, wow, that's money not going to the bank or not going to the government. That's fantastic. But I started thinking about, well, how life-changing is this for the customer? And one of my mentors said to me, I want you to actually call some of your customers that you've done this work for over the last 12 months and talk to them about what has it meant for them. And I thought, great, I'm going to get some great feedback, maybe some great testimonials, and they're going to tell me, they traveled the world and something incredible. But that didn't happen. I called these customers and they said, yeah, it's great and we love our new bank, but the repayment actually didn't go down a lot. We're paying the bank a lot less, and over time we will end up paying our loan off faster. But because we're paying principal and interest, the repayment itself, we're paying less interest, but not necessarily the repayment's gone down as much as we thought it would. So therefore, the cash flow difference isn't as much on a day-to-day basis. So although over a long period of time there's a big impact and a big difference, in the short term to the cash flow there wasn't. So that left me to go, right, well, I'm not really changing lives then, am I? I'm not really having a big impact, am I? And that's a problem for me. So in that moment, I decided I needed to do something bigger, better, and help more people. I had to think about all of the different ways that I could do that. And then it was actually one of my friends that said, Kat, you bought this beautiful house 2 years ago and it's more than half paid off. That's unheard of in Australia. And to be fair, within 4 years of buying it, we're gonna own this thing outright. And my friend said, Kat, that needs to get out there. You need to teach people how to do that. And I thought, you're right, because you know why? That changes lives. I then went back to particular customers into my network and I said, just for a moment, I want you to think about not having a rental payment that you've got to pay every week, fortnight, month, or not having a home loan repayment. Just delete it from your balance sheet for a moment. What comes up for you? And the feedback I got was completely different. The feedback was, whoa, I'd quit my job immediately and I'd go do something I enjoy 9 to 5. I would only work my 40 hours, not 60 or 80 hours and be murdering myself. I'd be overseas visiting my family I haven't seen in 20 years. You know, I'd be playing with the kids, I'd be more present. Now that's what I wanted to hear, because that is what gets me out of bed before my alarm. Now that is what I want every single Australian to be feeling. Not the point that they need to get 3rd jobs and skip meals. That's horrible. I want people to feel like they are empowered with their money, and money helps them to have freedom of choice ultimately. And that's why Finance Differently was born, because that's the gift it's going to give Australia.
All right. Now, a couple of things to point out there. So, who likes Kat's story? Do you guys think it's a pretty cool story, yeah? Yeah. Now, one thing that I did want to point out to you, and I did say to you at the start, like I did this interview a couple of weeks ago at Kat's house. You just watched 5 minutes long video. You were engaged with it. You were listening to what she was saying. We haven't even put any fancy stuff on it. We haven't done any graphics. We haven't done any overlays, but you watched it, you listened to it, and you engaged with her. And to me, that tells you something about how she tells that story. And, you know, she told you why you should care about it. It's because financially, it's hard for everybody right now, you know. It relates to everybody. She then talked about her origin, you know. There was adversity in it as well, you know. She thought one thing was going to work, and it sort of did work, but it didn't really sort of give the same feedback. And then she came back and created a brand that actually makes a difference, that changes people's lives. So I guess, you know, this is where I want to lead on to marketing. And marketing it's an interesting word. I don't always love using it because I feel like a lot of people don't actually understand fully what marketing is. And it's because marketing can be a lot of different things. You know, but there's one thing that's common in all types of marketing, and I want to illustrate something to you. So let's presume that marketing is basically anything that you do or anything that you show to people that sort of gives them some sort of level of exposure with your business or with your brand. So you guys all, you know, work in businesses, so I'm presuming all of you do some sort of marketing. So what sort of marketing do you guys do? Like, you guys have websites? Yeah, you know, there's you've got websites, social media. You know, there's flyers, brochures. People do those. Billboards, newsletters. You know, you can do video ads. You can do radio ads. There's word of mouth. You could do podcasts. There's all sorts of things that you can do, and it's all part of marketing and part of branding. But one thing that I can tell you, all of those things, you can't do any of them without content. So for me, this is why, you know how I said to you at the start that content is something that's really important. And a lot of people, you know, when I was starting my business, you know, a few people said to me, oh, you know, content's expensive, content's changing, you know, it's not a great idea to start this business. And a lot of those people who said that are now my clients because, you know, they do marketing, they build websites, or they design, you know, designers, but I do the content for them so that they can put it on their websites. So I guess, and another thing that I did want to leave you with as well as a thought is your marketing and your story has to be ubiquitous across all of your channels. Basically means that, you know, it has to be the same story, the same message through all of those. So I'm hoping that, you know, a lot of you don't just have a website and hope that somebody just finds them on Google and magically, you know, sales roll in. So I'm hoping a lot of you are doing all of those things and maybe more. But when you do messaging, when you do storytelling, when you do marketing, you have to make sure that you're putting the same story through all of your channels. Did you guys find any of this useful? Who thinks that they can improve some of their storytelling around their business based on what we sort of talked about today? Yeah. So I've got some good news for you. So and again, as a part of you know what we decided to do here today as a part of this presentation, we normally, when we do storytelling for businesses and when we do content for businesses, what we do is the first thing is we sit down with them and we analyze everything that they've got in terms of their assets, their presence. And you know, social media. We've actually got, we've developed an in-house system that we use to give you a score that scores out of 20. Now nobody gets 20, so don't be scared. Then what we do is once we sit down with you, once we've created that analysis, we actually outline a strategy, a content strategy that's unique to your business. So, you know, not just sort of general terms, chop principle, but actually is relevant to your industry and unique to your particular business, to where you're at in that business. And then we come up with a bit of a priority list as well. So sometimes what happens is, you know, we'll come in and we'll go, well, you know, you need videos, you need copywriting, you need to improve your social media, and let's do EDMs to all of your clients. And hey, how about we throw in a billboard as well? But you can't do all of those things all at the same time. It just doesn't work. So what we do then, once we've sort of got our suggestions, we actually create a priority list of things that will give you the best impact. And then just to, you know, because we're nice and because we're good at it, we give you a few social media ideas of, you know, what you can do pretty much straight away from, you know, from the day that we have that consultation, that you can implement straight away to start creating some more traction for your business. And, you know, normally we charge $350 for this, and generally it's either, you know, myself, my business partner, or we do have another business analyst working in the business as well. So it's one of the three of us that comes in and gives you that consultation, and off the back of it, yeah, we sort of develop a plan of what you could do in your business going forward. So today, though, as a bit of a thank you of, you know, for giving me the opportunity to have a chat to you today, and, you know, as a bit of a thank you to Workspace 365 for putting the event on, I'm giving everybody who's here this consultation for free. So all you got to do is scan the QR code. You just put in a few details, and you put in a few details, and then we'll get in contact with you, and we'll organize a time for us to come in to have a look at your business, to give you ideas on what you can do. It's absolutely free. There's no obligation. There's you know, and that's as a bit of a thank you to having this event here today. All right. Well, I'll leave that up for you guys to yeah, to scan for the rest. But as for me, that's it for the presentation. Thank you very much for listening. It's been a pleasure to see all of you here. I will stay around and try and meet as many of you as possible as well. But yeah, enjoy the rest of the morning, and yeah, let's have some food.